picture of 4 different women, Negro women. My skin is black and my arms are long. My hair is like wool and my back is strong. Strong enough to take all the pain that's been inflicted again and again and again and again. What do they call me? My name is Aunt Sarah. Mon nome è Aunt Sarah. My skin is yellow and my hair is long and straight and long, 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 between 2 worlds. I do belong, I do belong. My father was rich and white. He forced my mother late one night. What do they call me? My name is Saffronia. Mon nome is Saffronia. My skin is tan, tan, and my hair's all right, it's fine. My hips invite your daddy, and my mouth is like wine. Whose little girl am I? Why, yours if you got some money to buy. I meet you in Cannes later. What do they call me? They call me sweet thing. They call me sweet thing. They call me sweet thing. But I say, da. My skin is brown, brown, and my manner is tough. I'll kill the first mother I see. My life has been too rough. awfully bitter these days, 'cause my parents were slaves. What do they call me? My name is Peaches.
Family, what's good with you? It's Alexus Rhone, aka Alexus Grace, founder of Truth Meets Story LLC, expanding empathy one story at a time, and your host for Jesus Jazz and Dessert Wine at Vespers. Jesus Jazz and Dessert Wine at Vespers is a faith and adult storytelling series. By faith, I mean we explore the presence or perceived absence of God in our lived reality, and we do this exploration via the tool adult storytelling. By adult storytelling, I mean we tell story. Well, by adult storytelling, I mean stories that are told by adults, to adults, for people with a developed adult context. And for that reason, we don't issue any apologies for how we show up in this space. We assume that everyone who is here can handle what it means to be here. 7-year-olds have a story time, and now so do adults. You're welcome. Okay, so I have been all over the city looking for a quiet space with good lighting and cool visuals. And I found a lot of cool visuals, but it's just noisy as shit in Houston. It's like I can't find any spot where I can just like peace, just let it come, let's let it flow. It was like, man, what's really going on? I was, I was at the public library. I went to the Museum of Fine Arts. Like I was in all of like some of my favorite spaces, and I just couldn't, couldn't get it together. The other thing though that was annoying, and I'm gonna just say this. I was always in public spaces, and even in public spaces, I have to ask permission to film or to record, like to take pictures of myself, to record in these public spaces. And that was a bit vexing to me because I'm sensing that there is something that's going on with this whole idea of, quote, public. I'm thinking public means like the public has access to it. But I'm finding that from public spaces, even to public servants, everybody got a price on, how they can exclude you. You're going to be excluded from public spaces. And that, family, is a big, big problem. Now, fortunately, I was not intrusive in any of the public spaces where I was today. And I'm a very nice person. So I shook hands, I kissed babies, I explained exactly what I was going to be doing. And even when in one of the spaces, when they called all over the building trying to find the proper person to give me permission. And then finally, the person who was at the front desk just looked around and they said, look, permission granted. And I was like, okay, look, well, somebody got to come outside because the security officers are like, nope, you can't set up a tripod. You can't do this. So so one of one of the workers went outside and said, yes, she's welcome to be on the space with a tripod to record. So, I took some pictures and I was trying to find lighting and I was trying to, do sound checks, and it's like, it didn't work out. So I was like, I'm home. I'm back at my mother's house. Where she's in the back room and she got the TV all up. She's like, it's my house. And then she was like trying to come back and forth. I was like, Mama, just let me do this. And like, so she was able to fix her some food and go back in the back, and I think she's watching her daily episodes of The Close. I think it's like she's on a 2-a-day regimen. So I am not in public space. I am very much in Emma Pearl space. And but she's very gracious with her space, and I love it. Her space is beautiful, and I absolutely love being here. So we are inundated by all things election oriented. And, even in that, I know a lot of folks are complaining about, text messages like, everybody wants money, 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 money. And we're getting all these texts, and they'll say, hey, fill out the survey. You fill out the survey, like, what are the priorities? And then at the end, they're like, okay, well, like, to complete the survey, click how much you want to donate. Like, everybody got to hustle, man. I'm like, what the devil? So I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't like all of this money that is in election seasons. I don't like that it feels very exclusive. The person who can raise the most funds are the ones who have access to the big mics and to the big roles, and it feels off. It really feels off. And my prayer is that we have a Harris Walls administration, and declaring that in the spiritual realm, and also casting my vote. And I'm hoping that we're gonna at some point begin to tackle and dismantle Citizens United. It was not always this way. And I know this because I have always been involved in election seasons. And I'm grateful for all of the folks that are just now coming around and deciding that voting is important. But, even as a child, my brother and I would go with mom to the polls, and we'd stand in line. And what was interesting is that there would always be a long line in our community. And, children or whatever, we'd sit down, but we weren't complaining. No one was whining. It was like, okay, look, we got work to do. We got to get this in. And we just understood the importance of it. And so when I was old enough to register to vote, my freshman year at the University of Texas at Austin, even participated in a Democratic caucus, student on campus caucus meeting. And it was really fascinating, that whole process. But was super excited, super engaged. It has always been the thing that I have done. And so, whatever community I've lived in, I know who are my elected officials. I attend the town hall meetings. I call if there's an issue, and I make my voice heard and known. And so that, again, that's just how I've always shown up. And I'm grateful that others are now starting to find this important, find this this is the way to be. The money thing, though, we got to get that up out of here. We have to dismantle Citizens United. We must make room for people who don't have access to big money to have the opportunity to serve us. Because I believe that there are a ton of really good ideas that are packaged in voices and in people who don't have access to big money, but they're going to, like, hashtag give us solutions. But they, we have work to do, because I want to be sure that we have, everyone. We're talking about, diversity, inclusion, and that must be in our diversity, equity, and inclusion. That must also be in our public spaces. Everything cannot be for a price. Like, we have work to do. So excited about that. But in this season, I've always been active, politically. I've always understood the value of it. And I've also always been active and involved in church. And that's where things are so very funny. I am active in politics. I'm active in my faith community. I go to school and I listen to my history teacher. And from a very early age, even it wasn't called history, it was called social studies. Like, I used to love social studies, right? And even in the social studies classes, I would see snippets of American history and the crimes that were committed, right? They were lawful crimes, and that they were legislated, but they were most definitely crimes against humanity, crimes against Black bodies. And I would often think, like, okay, so we have this as a part of American history. Now, when exactly did Holy Spirit come again? Like, was Pentecost after the civil rights legislation was signed? Like, that was how I would think, because I could never get it to align how every day recite the Pledge of Allegiance, which ends with one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, right? So that's in the pledge. But the history annals record something different. And I could never figure out, how do we do under God? And, this is our legacy. So here's the story. I was at a Bill Clinton rally for his second election. And when you go to these rallies, they're a lot of fun. There's a lot of energy. You are, for the most part, with people who are supporting your candidate, and you're feeding off of one another, and you're excited. Bill Clinton was going to be, like, we were waiting on him to come to the mic. And so they have all of these, pre-speakers and all of that. So it's a public space. So everyone is welcome, including those who did not support Bill Clinton. The only thing is, if you come in, no one, whether you support him or not, no one is permitted to bring in their homemade signs. If you ever see the rallies and everyone has the same poster that they're holding up, that's because they've been handed the poster when they went into the rally. So those are the only posters that we are permitted to hold up, and they're very clear on the rules. So I'm at this rally, and I'm excited because there are a lot of folks who are new, to the political process. And there's energy around Bill Clinton, and there's like, oh my God, we got to keep him in the White House, and he needs a second term, and, and on and on. So there's a lot of like-minded folks are present. But directly behind me were 4 white men and an older white woman, an elderly white woman. They were not fans of Bill Clinton. And so when the crowd would chant, 4 more years, 4 more years, the group behind us would chant, draft dodger, draft dodger. Okay. All right, do you, boo. And then they had their homemade sign. And so they would try to wait for when there was a camera around to hold up their sign to have their say. But they would tuck it away whenever a rally worker was in the area, because they didn't want to have the sign confiscated. Well, fast forward, they hold the sign up, they're yelling draft dodger, a rally worker spots it, comes over. Rally worker happens to be a young African-American male. And he says to them very respectfully, excuse me, but I must confiscate your sign. The rules are very clear. When you entered the space that you were more than welcome to be here, it's public space, but you cannot bring in homemade signs. And so they're talking about their First Amendment rights, and they're doing this, and the rally worker has been very respectful. And so, everyone is just kind of sitting back and letting the rally worker, handle this, been very diplomatic. And then one of the white boys says to him, "Look, boy." And to that, I turned around with the blessing of 1,000 ancestors, and I went left. Not just on the fact that he had called this young black man a boy, but because he did so while wearing a Jesus t-shirt. And when I clowned him, I was primarily talking about, what team is he going to play for? How are you going to be racist and talk about some Jesus? And I just went plumb left, not in a way that I was just like all out of sorts. I make my living with words. So I'm very clear about what I say. And this had been a thing that I had been thinking about for years, not understanding how the two were able to live side by side. And I had just decided, you know what? Not today, Satan. I went straight left on him. And what I remembered was the elderly white woman gently stroking my arm. And I look at her and I'm like, They're the ones that you need to be, dealing with, like not me. Now, when you are in predominantly black spaces, what you don't do is be disrespectful to the elderly. I chin check them white boys, clearly. I cleared them. But for the elderly white woman, I knew to be respectful. And then they all ended up leaving. They left the rally. And we continued on with the celebration. Bill Clinton was elected to a second term. There are 4 things that we do at Jesus Jazz and Dessert Wine. And I would like to use this story for these 4 things. The first is we offer a public lament. And here is my public lament. I lament that there are people who love Jesus and got a raggedy ass alignment with empire's insistence that racism is reasonable, that racism can just come out of you even with your Jesus brand, that somehow Jesus and your racism, your religion and your racism can coexist peacefully. You don't have to be decent. You don't have to be good to love Jesus. You can have a raggedy alignment. I lament that. But here's my prophetic hope. It's the second thing we offer at Jesus Jazz and Dessert Wine. It's my prophetic hope. It's found in the prophetic text of Zephaniah, chapter 3. Zephaniah the prophet is talking about all of the ways that there is raggedy alignment. Here is a city where you know the standard, where you understand that justice is real. You have all of the people, all of the players in place. The politicians are in place. The city leaders are in place. The priests are in place. Everybody raggedy. Even the people are raggedy. But in verse 5, the prophet says, but God is still in the city, and God does no wrong. Day by day, God metes out justice. I love that witness, and I love exactly where it's represented. You see, I have wanted to believe that when God is present, there is no racism. When God is present, the people who love God are aligned with the standard, that everything is flowing and moving as it should. That's me operating in what I think, like this is just how it's supposed to be. But the prophet says, yeah, they raggedy. Yet it's like all these things are going on. Even in the even in the church, even in the religious circles. Like, yeah, the prophets, like they prophesying for profit. Like the prophets want to profit, right? But then by verse 5, he says, but God is still present in the city. And when I think about what it means for God to be present in the city and to do no wrong, well, who are the hands of God? We are. Who are the feet of God? We are. The mouthpieces for God. The good that is spoken. The good that is done. That's us. That's us recognizing that there is a standard. There is a way to define when it's not good. You can call that shit out. You know when it is not the right way for us to go. For God to be in the city is for the people who know that that's not the right way to go. To go the right way. To represent. To know that God is no respecter of persons. And that God has not given up on us. That is my prophetic hope. Craziness exists because it always has. But God is still in the city. And that is good news today. Amen. The third thing we do at Jesus Jazz and Dessert Wine is we offer an energizing memory. My energizing memory is, again, growing up in this space in the church, and in listening to my leaders in the church, listening to my leaders, like my teachers in school, recognizing that the information is not coming together except in my own personal commitment to show up as goodness. You see, there is something that, like, I earnestly hate people who brand themselves with Jesus and then, publicly do things that are disrespectful. I hate that. And I hate it so much that, and I always have, but I hate it so much that it has caused me to be mindful of my own witness. I can't show up any kind of way, can't show up doing any kind of thing. And it started because I was trying to figure out, now, how are they showing up and doing any kind of thing? How are they? I'm looking at them. I'm listening and I'm watching, and it's not adding up. But I realized, as much as it depends on me, I'm going to represent the brand, and all will be well in all manner of things. That's my energizing memory. The fourth and final thing that we offer at Jesus Jazz and Dessert Wine is a word on giving. We're not talking about giving money. In the selection season, I know y'all are tired of all them text messages and and all of the ways, like, we done signed up for something, they got our phone number and they sharing a number, and like, every time you look up, like, there's a money request, right? I'm not talking about giving in that way. Here's my frame for giving. Give space for people to begin again. When they know better, they do better. Give them room to do better. You see, I was very intentional in my chin check for the white boy that was behind me at that Bill Clinton rally. I did not just go off on him because of his racism. I went off on him because he deigned to be a racist and a follower of the religion that I too am a part of. And that was a problem for me. I witnessed where he was in open violation. I witnessed where he had done what so many before him thought was okay. I bore witness to him on that day that shit is not okay. Take your pick. You want to be racist or you want to be with Jesus? You want to clown? Because you can, you can pick. If that's what you want to do, okay, go with it. But as far as I am concerned, you gonna need to pick. Otherwise, prepare to be chin checked routinely. I plumb went off on him. But I believe that when they got in their vehicles and they left their rally, the last word they heard was from the black woman telling them about how they needed to choose. You see, I trust in the power that God has given me to create worlds using my words. Genesis text says that let us create human beings in our image to be like us. God created the world with words. Then God said, and God said. Our words have power. And I very much believe in the power of the words that I speak. And so my sanctified imagination, they left that rally and they had to wrestle with what I said. And what I need to do is to give space for them to begin again, to think about their witness, and to know, wow, what is it that I went there? I very much believe in the power of the Holy Spirit to use these moments of chaos, but also of a very intelligent black woman who witnessed you say a racist trope against a black man, and she didn't let that shit stand. I didn't let it stand. I believe in what I said, and I believe in the power of my words to have them thinking about why they did that. And then I make room. I give them space to believe. I give them space to begin again. In 2 Samuel 14 verse, the wise woman from Tekoa, it's one of my favorite texts. She says, all of us will die eventually. Our lives are like water spilled on the ground that cannot be gathered up again. But God does not throw life away. Instead, God devises plans to bring us back when we've been separated. Give yourself and give others space to begin again. That's the whole witness. To God be the glory. To the earth be peace. And to you be the courage to speak up, to show up, to know that your words have power, to do your diligence to be sure that we all can share in common well-being and common good. As much as it depends on you and me, may we partner with God in healing the world through the gifts of our insight, through whatever gifts God has given us, to show up and to just be goodness. God is still in the city. Our gifted hands and our goodness is proof. Ashe. Selah. Amen. It is so. Thank you for joining me this evening, and we will see you next week.
Mon nome è Dessert. My skin is yellow, and my hair is long and straight.